You got anybody else out there? Huh? Oh, staff. It's kind of warm in here. Should have brought my little fan.
The air conditioning goes on now. Or does it turn off at 6?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it keeps going.
We are now live. Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, rather. And thank you all for joining us for today's presentation of our Money, Health, and Wealth Financial Capability Series of Mind Over Money, How Finances Shape Your Mental Health. I'm sorry, your mental wellness. My name is Nia Murray. I'm the programs coordinator with Neighborhood Recovery Community Development Corporation, and we are one of the partners here in conjunction today with Family Houston to provide this information with you. Together, Family Houston has been a longtime supporter and sponsor with Neighborhood Recovery and hosting our monthly Money, Health, and Wealth Financial Capability Series. Included in that series, we also talk about credit and debt management, savings, how to basically kind of create your own GoFundMe, preparing for other types of events. A variety of like 8 or 9 different workshops that we do on a monthly basis throughout the year. And we wanted to include this particular series today because we noticed that I've noticed over the last several months that there have been a lot of factors involved with a lot of people as they're going through different types of, financial issues. And then it has developed a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of stress. So when I saw that Family Houston also offers mental health services, I'm thinking that's the perfect thing to add into this little mix that we've got going on here. So so it was really weighing heavy on me to make sure that we kind of did our part in kind of providing this information as well as it relates to your finances and your mental wellness. A lot of times people put this stigma on mental health and mental wellness, and they think, something's got to be wrong with you if you even mention mental about anything. So we want to try to do whatever we can also about breaking that stigma. So there's going to be a lot of information that we're going to be covering here today, as far as trying to figure out what some of the triggers are that can impact your mental wellness as it relates to job loss or somebody passing away, or anything to do with your finances that can kind of trigger some of those things and what to look out for. So we've got a mental health professional here that's going to be providing some information with you. In addition to that, the financial coach, a financial stability coach with Family Houston is going to be providing you all with some tips and some information about your finances, about budgeting, about how to avoid some of those other triggers that could potentially happen as life be life, and as some people like to say. So we want to thank you all for joining us this afternoon, or this evening rather. We are providing you a hybrid presentation today. So we are live on Zoom as well as on our social media platforms. And we are also here in person at the Family Houston Center located at 411 Durham in Houston. So if you were not able to join us today, hopefully you can join us again another time in person. However, we are available for our Money, Health, and Wealth series the first Wednesday of every month from 4 to 6 with one of our different workshops. So I'll come on at the end and kind of go over other workshops and things that we have. But in the meantime, right now, we're going to go ahead and get started with our presentation. We're going to have Ms. Monet Cheney come on and introduce herself, and then she's going to introduce the mental health professional that's going to be giving the information for you today, and then we're going to move right on into our presentation. So, Monet? Oh, one more thing before I forget. Again, we are recording this session. We are live on our social media platforms. However, this is an opportunity for you to ask whatever questions that it is that you do have. If you are joining us on Zoom, please feel free to type your question into the chat, or if you'd like, at the end of the presentation, you can unmute yourself and ask the questions directly of the presenters. If you're not comfortable with that, please feel free to type your question into the chat. If you are joining us on social media, I will be monitoring the social media comment section, so you can type your question into the comment section there, and I'll make sure the question gets answered. However, we are also in person, so we do have people here. If you do have questions, please raise your hand and we can definitely call on you to get your question addressed here as well. However, we are on a public platform. We do not want you to divulge any personal, detailed information about any particular situation, because we don't want that information getting out there. So we want to protect your privacy as best we can, but you do have the opportunity to then kind of contact them for some one-on-one sessions if it's, you know, too personal, too detailed, or too elaborate. So know that the information that we do provide is for educational purposes only. It is not legal or medical advice. We do encourage you, again, to reach out to the counselors and to those professionals that can help you in those areas. So with that being said, now we're going to get started. All right, so Monet.
We can hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. Your screen is not on. I mean, you can't see your face.
Yeah, we cannot hear.
Let somebody see your face, girl. Deanna, you thumbs up or no?
Yes, good.
Your camera's not on, so we can't see you shaking your head. We can't hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, my name is Monet Cheney, and I'm a financial stability coach here at Family Houston. I've been with the organization for 15 years now. And today I am partnering with one of our counselors, Pierre Mata. Want to come over? He could get the screen with me. He's been with Family Houston for 16 years and as a family therapist. And he's going to start off the presentation going over. He's going to go over identifying the emotional costs of money, financial triggers, and life events that influence your mental wellness, and how to recognize behavioral changes. And then I will come in later and talk about identifying ways to reduce financial stress through budgeting tools, savings, and planning for financial peace of mind. So I'm going to give the mic over to Pierre so we can get started.
So my name is Pierre, and I am a marriage and family therapist. I've actually been practicing over 20 years, and I'm a native Houstonian, so I know the city well. I love the city. I love Houston, and I love being a therapist. So, but I recognize that when people come in, they're not just bringing depression or anxiety or whatever, family conflict, marital conflict, that they're very often they are coming in with financial issues. And we try to be sensitive. The thing I love about Family Houston is that we don't just say, okay, you might want to talk to a financial counselor. We literally say, would you like to talk to one of our financial counselors? And so that I've worked well with Monet and with some of the other financial counselors. We also have an employment coaches. And so I love our organization. It's a very holistic kind of thing. I want to start by saying, if you are from Houston and you've lived in Houston anytime, one of the things that we have to deal with is hurricanes, right? And so what I learned about hurricanes, what I use it as a analogy, a metaphor, is that we had was it Harvey, or the flooding was a 100-year flood, right? We had no idea how vulnerable our infrastructure was until we had that flood. So we thought, hey, we're fine. We got our bayous, we got our drainage system, whatever. But that 100-year flood taught us a lesson. And unfortunately, that's how life is. You may think, hey, I can handle life. I can cope with, all the stress that's going on in my life. And then something comes along that will reveal that your coping skills, your ability to deal with different things. And I'm talking about from an emotional and psychological standpoint, that they can be strained. And so it's so important to kind of know. And what you're going to see today is that there's kind of like this back and forth. They kind of feed into each other. And so it's important to kind of be aware. So there's some general things about to remember. Number one, I would say, is that everyone experiences stress. In fact, it doesn't really matter how much money you have, you can still experience stress. In fact, some of the people that have the most money or the most resources are some of the most stressed. I know that because I've worked with these people, right? So having money does not necessarily mean that you're not stressed out by but whatever circumstances are. And so it's important to be able to recognize when your emotional and physical resources are being stretched too thin. So you want to be able to identify what is going on. So just basic, something happens with us when we are experiencing any kind of emotional distress. If you're driving down the freeway and you see a wheel fall off or whatever, your body's going to automatically prepare you to react to that wheel rolling down. And I don't know if you've ever I've actually seen that happen before, a terrible thing. And so you've got to react. So our bodies are designed by nature, by God, however you want to see it, to react. And so there's something called, it's up there, it's called the fight, flight, or freeze response. And so what happens is your brain, even before you're even aware of it, your brain is releasing chemicals into your body. They're called stress hormones, cortisol, epinephrine, norepinephrine. And these do things to your body, like they open your pupils. They send the blood from the center of your body to your extremities so that you'll be able to react. And so that's why, if you're walking down the street, there's an animal coming towards you, a dog, you're going to do one of those three things. You're either going to grab a stick and fight with the dog, or you're going to run away, or you might literally freeze. And so that stress can be caused by anything. Coming up here to speak, okay, what am I going to say? How am I going to sound? They say the top two fears are fear of speaking and fear of death. And actually fear of speaking is the number one, and fear of death is number two. That's kind of crazy, right? So physiological. So you want to be able to pay attention to your body. And here's the thing: if you see this dog coming towards you, you're ready to fight, or you're ready to run away, or you freeze, and the dog just walks by and doesn't do anything to you. Guess what? Your body's going to calm down. He's like, okay, whew, I'm glad we're okay. The problem is if you are under a constant state of stress, these chemicals are being released into your body on a regular basis. And so that's why things like marital conflict, relationship conflict, conflict with your children, problems at your job, financial difficulties, the thing are causing stress, and we're having a physiological response. Well, then I wish it was that easy, because some people say, I'm just going to take a deep breath. I'm just going to sit here and just calm down. It'd be great if that's all that there was to it. We have this one therapist, is awesome. Monet and I were joking about it. She okay, let's just breathe, y'all. She does these exercises and helps you calm down. But it's not that simple, because we also have a mind. And so that's why the psychological part is important to understand. So anytime we have a situation, so let's say you get a bill in the mail and you are not expecting this bill. Where did this bill come from? Why? Why is it so much? And so the very first thing you may think, like, oh my gosh, my heartbeat started beating fast, or I got scared, I was worried, I was afraid, I was sad. You would think you're having all these emotions, and actually what happens first is you think. You have a thought about that, like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to pay that off, or there's no way that I'm going to be able to prove that I don't owe that money. I paid that, or whatever. So you start having these thoughts, and most of the time the thoughts that we think are not helpful. And because they're not helpful, if we think, man, you think there's no way I'm going to be able to pay that off. I'm so far behind. And then, of course, you will feel anxiety. You may feel fear. You may feel sadness. You feel confusion, all these different emotions. And those emotions are not helpful. So your thoughts are not helpful and your emotions. If you're all sad, depressed, or whatever, and you just want to go curl up in bed and lay down, or you want to go take a drink or whatever and drink a lot so that you don't have to think about the bills. Well, sometimes our emotions will be unhelpful because then they lead to the behaviors. And you can see right there, excessive eating, drinking, or smoking, or compulsive spending. And so it's interesting. Sometimes people, when they have all these bills, they actually will spend money that they don't really have. It is a way of them coping. And that's the thing with these unhelpful behaviors. They are coping mechanisms. So when somebody comes in, they say, Mr. Pierre, I've been eating a lot, or I've been drinking, or I've been, gambling, spending money I don't have. I'm not going to judge them because I'm like, that makes sense. You don't want to think about your problems. You don't want to, you're stressed out. You're trying to do something to make yourself feel better. So I get it. So I don't judge anybody, but I think it's important to be aware because you think about it. If even just this seminar is stressing you out, like, oh my gosh, I got to think about all these things, right? And you go home and you eat a whole thing of Bluebell ice cream, or whatever. You're like, oh my gosh, right? I ate a whole thing of Bluebell ice cream. But guess what? Guess what? That's just one time. And guess what? We all, with comfort eating, right? That's stuff, something that happens. The problem is if we continue to overeat or to drink excessively, then we have a whole new set of problems. All right. So, mental health crises, because yes, it can lead if we're overstressed. And boy, I have some clients right now that literally, I just listening to them, I'm like, and I have to, take care of myself because listening to people, the things that they're going through, then can cause them to have problems in other areas. And so, in particular, the thing that they need, and they'll even tell me, Mr. Pierre, all I can think about right now is work and my job. The problem is if you're having a mental health crisis, if you're overstressed, it can lead to these things. It can lead you to make mistakes at your job. It can lead your boss to say, you know what, you're just, if you're a scheduled person, you have certain hours during the week, they'll be like, you know what, I'm only going to schedule you 1 or 2 days because every time you're here, you're out of it. You're not, and then of course that decreased time will lead to a loss of income. And of course, if you're not having as much money to live and to pay your bills, guess what happens next? Then you start to accumulate debt. So these things build on each other. And so again, when people come in, I'm glad Monet and we all work together because Monet knows when someone's coming in and they say, I have all this debt, we don't just say, okay, what are you spending your money on? Or why can't you save your money? No, Monet is going to ask, like, well, what's going on? She wants to know how the family is, how their job is, how their health is, because all these things that are going on may be connected to other factors in their life, and that those other factors need to be addressed. So it's not simply learning a budget, though that's helpful, learning how to save, pay off debt. Those are wonderful skills. But sometimes people need to be heard and listened to and supported so that they can have the resources, the skill, the coping skills to deal with their stress, right? So financial stress can lead to some common psychological conditions, right? And so one of the main things is an inability to cope with stress. So, you have a sick mother or a sick parent or a sick child, and your marriage has going through a rough patch, or your relationship's in a rough patch, right? And so then you have these financial things as one more thing that you have to deal with. And it's like, you know what? I'm just overwhelmed. And I've heard that so many times. I'm just overwhelmed, Mr. Pierre. And so that's kind of when we're overwhelmed in so many different areas of our life. And this one is in particular, it's interesting in, because I'm a marriage therapist, the top two things couples fight about are sex and money. Those are the main two things. And it causes a lot of stress and family problems. And so obviously then it's difficult to cope with all that stress. And then there's something that's real interesting. It's called a negative attributional style. And what this is, and this is something it's learned, and it's when you explain things, negative events in your life as coming from yourself. That's what it means, negative attribution. You're attributing those things to something inside of you. Well, I'm not smart enough. I don't work hard enough. I'm not an impressive employee or whatever, right? And you look at certain internal factors, and then also you think about this is like, this is like I just can't change. And this always happens to me. That's a big one. Like you might lose a job. Say, I'm always losing my job, or I'm always getting, called into the HR department or whatever, right? And so you start to develop these ways of seeing things. And then of course, the thing that really is bad, you may be doing great at home, you're doing great in your marriage, you're doing great with your family, parents, children, all that, right? But you're not doing well financially. And then you might start to creep in. You know what? I'm a terrible budgeter. I'm a terrible manager of my finances. Well, you know what? Look at my rest of my life. I'm not good managing my job. I'm not good managing my family. And you start to think these negative thoughts. And so you're blaming yourself for every negative thing that's going on in your life. You think that it's permanent, it's never going to change, and then it's going to start impacting all of your life. And this really, again, you think, how is money, how does money do that? Because money is such an important part for kids. Even think about it, even kids worry about, are we going to have enough money? Is our family going to have enough money? And so definitely when you're the responsible one, when you're the person who's in charge of the money and bringing in money and earning money, that puts a lot of stress. So that leads to the next thing, which is it's called learned helplessness. And this comes from a man, a psychologist who did this experiment with the dog. Do any of y'all have dogs? Anyone you have a pet? And so he took a dog and he put it on this flat grate with a metal grate, and he could run a current through it, not to hurt the dog, but to just kind of, not to harm the dog, but to kind of sting. So whenever he shocked the dog would jump off. So then, put it back on there, and he shocked him, and he jump off again. Well, then they put a leash on the dog, and the dog jumped up and landed right back down. Shocked him again. He jumped up and he landed right back down. Eventually, the dog said, I ain't going nowhere. I can't get out of this situation. I'm stuck. And by the very end of the experiment, the dog is pretty much just laying on the grate because he thought he couldn't do anything. Guess what? They take the leash off and they shocked the dog. And what do you think the dog did? He just stayed right there. No, I wish he would have gotten up, but he stayed right there because in his mind. And that's the thing, when we have this negative attributional style and nothing seems to work. We can't find a job, or we can't, no matter how hard we try, or we can't seem to get ahead of our bills or make payments on time. We get to that point where we kind of give up. And this is something that causes depression and anxiety, which is the next thing. So again, a lot of this, you think about all of this is inside of our heads and inside of our minds. And so that's why, unfortunately, then our lives will start to be impacted, our relationships and our jobs and things like that, and our physical well-being. And a big thing is anxiety and depression. And you think anxiety and depression, mental illness, and in fact, stress in general, billions of dollars in the United States are lost each year because of the impact of stress. And then, of course, if people are anxious and depressed, that causes them to call off of work or other things to not be focused at work. And so it says financial triggers can lead to financial stress and mental health crises. And so, what are some of these things? Well, one, obviously, like I just mentioned, when you get a bill that you were not expecting, or you have to have a test, your doctor orders a test, and you're like, "What? It wasn't in your budget to have this test that's going to cost you $600, $700, right?" So, an unexpected expense can really put a lot of pressure on you, a lot of stress on you, and again, at some point, stress is going to wear down your body. And so you will start to get sick. You will find yourself getting sicker. And we recognize when during the COVID pandemic, who had a poor immune system were more vulnerable to getting COVID and having it longer and maybe even dying from COVID, right? Well, again, if you're under a constant state of stress, your immune system is not going to be working as well, and you could start to have health problems. Okay, thing is unemployment is stressor, right? And or even you say, I know I've got a job, but I'm barely making hardly anything at my job. That's a stressor. And and we know too well in our society that structures can change so quickly. Divorce, the end of a relationship, someone just saying, I'm done and leaving, right? And so all these different factors, again, when your family structure changes, especially if somebody dies, if the main income earner in the family dies, that is a huge, huge stressor. And that can lead to not only a financial crisis, but it can lead to a mental health crisis. And then, of course, catastrophic loss. And we saw that, we've seen that with so many different hurricanes that we've experienced where you lose everything. You literally lose everything. And of course, there is severe depression. Um, just one minute. So we when after Hurricane Katrina, there's a great documentary, I think it's on Netflix, that just came out. When after Katrina, we had some of our therapists went to a training um, that was based in New Orleans. They went to New Orleans to do this training, right? And they said that we will not see the impact of the hurricane on the physical and mental well-being of people until a year later. And guess what? Then COVID came along. All my clients, they're like happy, they're at home, you know what I mean? The kids didn't want to go to school. They're glad they could be at home and families we all spent a lot of time together. Guess what? A year later, and then of course I continue, this is what, 5 years now? I continue to see the impact. So that was a catastrophic, the COVID was a catastrophic loss. And that can, of course, we know that that led to all kinds of mental health issues and financial stress. This is the last slide, and then I'm gonna get to your question, okay? So financial stress can lead to some behavioral changes, and so you want to be aware of this because you may have a friend or a family member or your spouse or partner, and you're like, something's up with them, right? And this is something that happens. I think my dad did this with my mom, and my mom, of course, when she found out, she would get mad. He wouldn't always tell her what was going on financially, and that is not a good thing. It's not good. You need to have your partner. And I've had one gentleman one time that he was so afraid to tell his wife what was the real financial situation that they were in. He was thinking about killing himself. That's pretty bad. And so luckily he came to therapy. We're like, oh, hold on a second. And he talked to his wife and she was upset, but she reassured him that it was not as bad as he thought it was, right? So paying attention to ourselves and to other people when we are experiencing financial stress is important. So what you will see in people who are experiencing, and it could be stress about anything, but you think, hey, they're healthy, everybody's happy in the family, what's going on. It could be financial stress, right? You're going to see a change in their normal routine. So normally they sleep 6, 7 hours in the night, and then now they're sleeping maybe 2, 3 every now and then. You'll see a change in their appetite, and you'll be like, you didn't even eat your dinner, you didn't finish your dinner, right? That's how you know, hey, something's going on because you're not really eating. Or, and this is one that um, I don't know if it's COVID changed that or whatever, but people not showering, people not brushing their teeth, not combing their hair. That to me, those are what are called activities of daily living. Now, during the COVID, yeah, we were like, hey, I can skip a shower. I don't got to go into the office or whatever, right? But if you're seeing somebody doing that and on a regular basis, they are not showering, they're not brushing their teeth, they're not taking care of themselves physically, that is not a good sign. That's a major change. And this is something that I ask people that they're not always aware of. They say, Mr. Pierre, I'm not depressed. I'm fine. I'm okay. And I ask them, what makes you happy? Do you feel like you are not enjoying activities that normally would make you happy? Either not at all or not to the same extent. It's called anhedonia. And anhedonia is one of these rare symptoms that people don't even really think about it. But they'll be like, man, I don't really enjoy anything anymore. I don't enjoy sex. I don't enjoy going to the movies. I don't enjoy even watching TV, right? If somebody is not experiencing joy in their life, any kind of joy or happiness, they don't have any interest, any hobbies, that is not a good sign. And this again, there's something going on with the person that you would want to see, you would want to explore. Hey, what's going on? Another one is it's called emotional dysregulation or emotional numbness. So if you see someone, you have a family member, friend, or whatever, and they're normally like just calm and can never lose their temper or whatever, and all of a sudden they're snapping at you, they're losing their temper, they're irritable. That is not that is not a good sign. That is usually an indication that there's something going on. They're overstressed. They are, or some people they do the opposite and they're just kind of like flat and they sit and you sit there and there's no emotion on their face. They're not crying, they're not angry, there's just nothing there. And that's not a good sign. Another thing, and if you have teenagers or you had teenagers at some point, one of the things that will always worry you, if they isolated themselves, you're like, why don't you come out of your room? And guess what? Adults can do the same thing. They want to go in their room and I had one man that I worked with, poor guy. He said he only left his room to come to therapy, and he was an older man, but his mom was even older. And he said, I only come to therapy, leave my room, or I take my mom on her appointments. The rest of the time, he was in his room and in his bed. That is and the thing with isolation and then with the next one is that it leads to more problems. You think, I don't feel like being around anybody. I don't feel like doing anything. I don't feel like taking a shower. Well, this is like a snowball effect to where you will become increasingly depressed. And so isolation is not good one. And then of course, the development of compulsive behavior, substance abuse, video games. It's not just teenage boys that play video games. It's teenage boys, teenage girls, young adult men, young adult women. So you have to be careful about how much and gambling, spending money. And we were amazed during the COVID. Two things really just skyrocketed: alcohol use and pornography. And those two things, again, it's a coping mechanism. I don't judge anyone. They come in, I've been drinking more, Mr. Pierre, or I've been spending time looking at pornography on it. I'm like, okay, what's going on? But the habits, they're ways of coping, but they're not helpful. They only lead to more problems. And so when you see someone who's going through these things, you want to say, hey, what's going on? Because it may not be financial, but it might be a relationship problem. It might be a problem at work. It might be they're having a health problem or whatever. And of course, in all of those situations, it's helpful to have a professional to talk to, right? But financial, you think, man, my life is gravy, man. My kids are good, or my relationship with my partner is good. I mean, everything's good, but I'm just all stressed out. I'm like, well, what's happening? Well, I mean, it's hard financially. I'm like, that's enough right there. That is enough. If everything else in your life is good, but your finances are not good, guess what? You may have it in like a little back room or a little closet in your house. You're not even thinking about it all the time, but guess what? It's there and it's bothering you. And you will start to see these signs, these subtle signs. And so if you notice this about yourself, you'd be like, well, we got problems, we have financial problems, but you see these going on in you. You're paying attention. You know what? I'm not sleeping well. I'm not eating. I don't enjoy anything. I'm angry all the time. I don't want to be around anybody. You probably need to not only say, I need financial coaching. No, you need financial coaching and you need to talk to somebody. You need to talk to a professional. And so, because if you only try to focus on the financial, you're missing out, and your depression, your anxiety. You learn these skills from Monet, budgeting, and you're like, "Ooh, I got a plan. Oh, this plan's stupid. I'm not gonna be able to do it," and you don't do it. But same thing. I have people like come in, they say, "Mr. Pierre, I feel so good. I've just come in and talked to you. I feel so good." I'm like, "I'm glad." But then they go home and they're do the same thing. They not managing their money, not watching, not setting goals. All those different things are going on. And they come back the next week and they're like, "I'm sad again, Mr. Pierre." Well, you got to do both. It's what do you say? It's insanity, as the AA people say, is doing the same thing and expecting different results. And so I'll tell you one thing. I think it's hard for people to come to therapy. It is hard. But you know what I think is even harder? Is to go to financial coaching and counseling. That is something that causes people a lot of shame and a lot of embarrassment. And the thing is that, man, you see this, I want to tell her business, but she's going on trips. I'm like, I'm like, I'm like looking at her Instagram and she's like in Spain or Italy or something. I'm like, damn, I wish I'm like, I wish I could go over there. so 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 uh yeah, it will be helpful. And again, there's no shame. And I want to say, so tell you a little about about our program, because you say, "Man, I don't have any insurance, Mr. Pierre." Well, first of all, we provide professional mental health counseling to children, to teenagers, adults, individuals, families, couples. We work with the whole thing. And like, I'm a marriage and family therapist. We have social workers, we have professional counselors. And so we're trained, even though we have different disciplines, we're trained to work with one person, with the couple, or with the family. Okay. And yes, guess what? You may hide things from your children. They know what's going on and it's bothering them. And you may think, why are you talking back to me? Why aren't you doing well in school? Why are you doing this? And you have no idea that they are worried. Either they're worried about the finances or they're worried about you. And so guess what? They're acting out. That's what we call it, acting out, because they can't say, "Mom, I'm worried about you. You haven't been working, or you're having problems with money. I know you're talking to bill collectors, whatever," and they are worried about you. So coming for therapy or getting therapy for your children would be helpful. English, Spanish, Bengali, Khmer, Vietnamese, and Urdu. Those are all the ones that we have, the languages that are represented, counselors that speak those languages. And then we accept all major insurance plans. We have EAP. And this is a benefit that so many people are not even aware of. And I have had so many clients from HEB. I don't know if they offer them health insurance, but you know what they offer them? They offer them EAP. It means employee assistance program. And they get 4 or 5. I've had clients had 8 free sessions. You call your HR person and say, does our company have an EAP program? They're like, yes, we do. Would you need some? I'll give you some sessions. And so many of our counselors are on your EAP panels, and you don't even have to pay. You get it free from your company, depending on your company, if your company offers that. And then again, there's some people, they don't have any of those resources. We offer a sliding scale fee. I think the lowest starts like at $30. And it's based on your family size and your household income, but it's very, very, very good. This is, and I think Monet, this will be on this information is in the little trifold. Okay, so this is if you want to schedule an appointment, you call the 713-861-4849. You can go to familyhouston.org. And then there's some emergency numbers. Obviously, if somebody, thank you. If somebody is in crisis, I always tell people, call 911. I would rather have an angry family member who's alive than a dead family member or an injured family member because I didn't want to call 911. So call 911. They have the Harris Center. The Harris Center is for people in Harris County, but I think they even go to some of the outer counties, and you can call that number. It's so easy to remember, 970-7000. And you can say, I need someone to come to my house. My husband is not doing, my wife is not doing well. They will send someone, a van, whatever. They'll send a team to your house, and they will talk to the person that is not doing very well. And because you may say, we need to go to the hospital. Mr. Pierre, I've had people say, Mr. Pierre said we need to go to the emergency room. I ain't going to no emergency room. And so they call this Harris Center. And sometimes, it's amazing how if you call a friend or whatever, you'll have somebody that is a good listener or whatever. Well, guess what? We have the crisis intervention hotline of Houston, and that's a good number. There'll be people there that will talk to you. There's a text one. I like that. And then this is so important. There's there's the National Suicide Hotline. It's 988. It's like 911, but it's 988, right? And so I give this to clients that have said they've been thinking about suicide, and it's something that is very helpful. I had one client, he uses that as his therapy because he can't afford therapy. So he calls them and he talks to them, and they listen to him, and they're supportive, and they're very helpful. All right. I'm sorry. You still have a question? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Is there anyone in here that has any questions? Okay. So Nia is going to email this information to everybody who's on the Zoom program, and the people in here too. Okay, yeah, all right. Any questions?
Maybe you just didn't know how to identify it. Maybe it's just something you just couldn't identify. You knew all this stuff was happening, but it's like, oh wow, that's stress. Oh wow, that's depression. Oh wow, I didn't know what that was.
So the thing that I have observed is people say, I don't feel like my old self. And that's a bit, and everybody has a bad day. We all have a bad day where we're sad or we're, anxious or we're worried. But then the next day we get up and like, I'm fine. I'm good. Right. That's good. But if you're consistently having these bad days or consistently having a bad night's sleep, or you are losing weight because you haven't been eating, you think about it, anybody that's going through those, you'd be concerned about them going to a doctor. And that's the other thing. People think, man, I can't afford to go to counseling. I got financial problems. I can't afford to go to the doctor because I have financial problems. You know what? if you drop dead, they're gonna have a greater problem because sometimes we need to make the tough decisions so that we are able to get better, get stronger, get the help that we need. And so I have people that make a sacrifice. They come, they pay their copay or whatever, they come because they realize that if they don't, they will be in a bad state, and they may cause them to lose their job or have start having health problems or whatever. So I think it's good to kind of recognize, you know what, there's no shame in asking for help. And I'll tell you right now, ladies, you guys you have no problem going to therapy. My female caseload is high. The clients that are male is real, like at the bottom, and it's changing, and I'm glad it's changing, but it's still not anywhere where I think men we need to acknowledge when we're having problems. We need to go talk to somebody. And part of it is that macho culture, Hispanic. Well, that's the other thing. That's the other thing. Uh, in our culture, I'm Hispanic, and in African American culture, there is a there's a stigma around mental health, and then also like financial financial stuff. You don't ever tell anybody that you're having financial problems, right? And so the thing that is good is that what we need is, and I tell people, how are we okay on time?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So I tell people this because people come in and are like, man, what do you know? You mean you probably make so much money or whatever, and you're a mental health counselor, or whatever. No, I don't know. I mean, each of you could tell me your story, and I'd be like, man, I can't imagine. And literally, I'd be like, I cannot imagine what you're going through. I can't, because I'm not you. I'm not African American, or I'm not Caucasian, or I'm not older, I'm not younger. So I think so many ways I can't relate to your particular situation, right? So the illustration I use is I love to fly, if I do am able to fly. When I get on the plane, the first thing I do when I get on is I look in the cockpit. I'm just fascinated with all the buttons and all the lights and things, right? And I look at, and sometimes there's somebody in there, sometimes there's not, but those guys train. And I know this because I have friends, family friends, their son is training to be a pilot, and he's got to fly like 2,000 hours or something so that before he can get in a big plane. And even then, he's not going to be able to fly. He's going to be a co-pilot or whatever, right? And so they go through all this training. And then when they finally do get it, guess what? That's their plane. And I can't go like banging on hey, can you go faster? Can you go left? You make a pit stop in San Antonio? No, the marshals will tackle me, they'll chain me, and then I'll go to jail when the plane lands, right? And so I tell people, I know nothing about, I mean, I don't know anything about flying planes. I don't know anything about your life other than what you tell me. I tell people that because I don't. And even then you can tell me, I'm like, I can't even imagine what that's like, not to have any money for food or to pay your bills. And I can't understand what that's like, right? So, but I say this, I say when that plane lands, and I like to sit by the window. And so you see the plane pulling up to the terminal, and there's this guy, he's got this weird looking hat. He's got these orange kind of things. What's he doing? He's got in the plane. So even though this guy, because he probably makes 15, maybe $20 an hour, the guy on the ground, and the pilot 200,000 or more, right? A year. But guess what? When he's coming into that terminal, he looks at that guy because he didn't want to crash into the terminal, right? So we all have a limited scope of vision. And the thing about, oh, Mr. Pierre, you're so smart, Mr. Pierre, blah, blah, blah. No, I got some training, I have some experience, but you know what I have? The advantage I have is I'm not in that situation. I'm on the outside, and I can give you an objective perspective, right? Not your mama, not your daddy, not your children, because they all got their perspectives, right? And they're all biased, and now I'm going to tell you what you should do, what you should not do. And guess what? You need someone who's saying, look, I'm going to give you an honest perspective, right? And yeah, I'll be honest, sometimes I've had some difficult conversations with people. But the first step is to just reach out and ask for help. And I would even say, you have to call us. Our website, we have an awesome website. We're going to redoing it, whatever. But I think even now it's awesome. And you can read about all our programs. You can go in and see the counselors, like, I don't know. I don't know about this Mr. Pierre guy, but is there anybody else that can work with me? And we have so many different therapists that you can read about them, and you can read their specialties and what they're good at, and I like this person. I want to try this person. And you call and you schedule an appointment. There was no questions online.
Yeah, there's, oh, there is a question that is here.
Okay.
If you've got a family member, loved one, relative, or whatever that you feel really needs the help, how do you go about approaching them with
Right.
suggestions and, or nudging them to get assistance?
So the main thing, and this is what when you don't come at someone is like you should. There's a saying, in I'm not an AA person, but I've been around AA people, so I know the sayings and things, right? And there's a saying, don't should on me. Don't should on me, right? And you know what that sounds like, right? Don't should on me. And so if you go to your person, because you love them and you care about them, you should know. What I really think is to just simply say, how are you? How are you? Not what's wrong. I get automatically, nothing's wrong. Why are you asking me what's wrong? Right? So no, it's about saying, well, what's going on? It's a very simple question. What's going on? And then, you listen to them. The greatest thing you can do is to just simply listen without condemning. You might think that's some crazy talk there, you know what I mean? But guess what? Let them talk and listen to them. That's the best thing that you can do for them, because they need to be seen and they need to be heard. We all do, right? We want to be seen and we want to be heard. And so then, because I've had people, they'll call me up when I was in school. I had friends call me up. They knew I was studying to be a marriage and family therapist, and they started telling me about their marriage problems. I'm like, I ain't even a marriage and therapy therapist yet. Let me finish my education before you start asking me all these questions, right? But I would listen to them, and then what I would say to them: have you thought about going and talking to somebody? I don't say a counselor. I don't say a mental health professional. I just say, have you thought about going and talking to somebody? And I have had a lot of people, and yes, I'll say this: I've had a lot of men who have come in and they said, my wife said she thinks I need to talk to somebody. I was like, okay, yes, sir.
I have a question.
Sure.
If a person, like you said, needs seen and heard,
Right,
if they just want to be seen and heard,
right,
I say, look at self.
right,
See your issues
Right.
that you're trying to,
right.
I think you can.
That's good. And that's why.
Can you repeat the question so people?
So
hear?
this gentleman said, that there are people that want to be seen and heard, but then they don't want to do anything. They don't want to make any changes. They don't want to take, I'm assuming they don't want to take responsibility and they don't want to change. Is that what you're
Was that the
saying?
question?
Yeah, or take the step.
To take the steps
to,
to get help,
or even just to take a look.
or to look at themselves, you said, to look
Right.
at themselves. Right. So the thing about therapy, and because, yeah, there are people that come in and they're like, just, but at some point I'll be like, okay, usually it's at the end of the session. I kind of like, okay, we're almost done. I just want to ask you a question or give you some feedback or whatever. So the thing about therapists is such an interesting thing, is that very often we're like a mirror. We're like a mirror. And people will say things that to a therapist that they would never tell anybody else in the world. And when you hear yourself, I've been drinking too much, I've been watching too much pornography, or I've been yelling at my kids. When you hear yourself say that,
That's the speaker right there.
I ain't do
Hello?
nothing. I ain't gotta do that. I'm just listening. And they start crying or whatever. I'm like, I'm just listening. So getting them, the biggest thing is to get them, because any skilled therapist, and I'll be honest with you, there are some therapists that are better than others, you know what I mean? And the
Yeah.
first one that you get may not be the best one. I think I'm a good
How do I do-
therapist, but not
Ooh.
everybody is good. So you need to get them, convince them to
These,
be
these my
in
cousin's glasses. I
to see
can't find
somebody,
mine.
or encourage them to see somebody and provide them. What I do is just give them a little brochure and leave it alone. That's it. And hopefully they will then say, okay, I think I do. And I've had people that will come in and guess what? Did you hear what you said? And they're like, surprised. So that's the hope. And sometimes though, guess what? They're like, you know what I mean? So then I'm like, I'll just ask a little bit a question, and that question is like, it's just like boom.
I know it works. Right? Like you say, in African American community growing up, it's unheard. You
Right.
can speak about.
Right.
And it wasn't until I actually 48, 49, somewhere around there.
Right.
I had to get incarcerated. See if there, you know, start to learn about that.
Right.
You know. Yeah, definitely. I think it helped change.
Right.
You know, because some of my why I was on surgery,
Right.
acting surgery.
Right. I took a lot of courage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe that anybody that's, I don't know, me that it took me to say, all right, something ain't right.
Right.
You know, for years I know something ain't right, but you know, like I said, growing up, it was like I can't mom, listen, something ain't right.
Right.
Talk to somebody to say, smack them somebody. You don't do that here, you know what I mean? But even as younger adult,
Right.
I felt something wasn't always right. And I didn't have courage to step out. Like I said, I got incarcerated, acting out, whatever. And it was part of stipulation.
Right.
Which I'm grateful it was.
Amen.
Now, I
Amen.
mean, like I said, it helped me.
Amen.
Okay,
So what-
so for the people that just couldn't hear that, we just had someone that was here in the audience kind of sharing their experience on reaching out and asking for help and how it was beneficial. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. So somebody was
So
just
wanna
asking
just
that they
say-
couldn't hear what somebody's saying, so.
I want to say
Okay.
one thing. This is something that if I ever recommend a book, there's a book called Boundaries. And it is a powerful book that helps with boundaries in relationships. It's boundaries is about telling people no. And that cause Monet is going to tell you that if you're trying to pay your bills and other people's bills, that's a boundary problem, right? So anyway, so with any situation, let's just use a non-financial situation. If I have a toothache, I don't like dentists. I will endure the pain. Only when the pain is so great that it's going to be greater than the pain of going to the dentist, that's when we act. And unfortunately, the longer you wait to address your financial issues, your mental health issues,
There was
it's
someone
going to
that,
be
wait, before you
more
go, there was
painful
someone that
or
unmuted
costly.
themselves. I wanted to give
all
them an
right.
opportunity to ask a question. If you had a question, and there was a caller that's joining by phone.
I think that's the echo. Did they unmute yet? Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pierre. So much.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? So we had a good, heavy conversation at the beginning, and I hope that some of the information that Mr. Pierre went over got you started thinking whether or not you think that there's some
Oh.
things you might want to, like, if you need help for anything that's going on in your life, which is why we wanted to put on this presentation, because as a financial coach, I do see a lot of individuals that are going through like financial difficulties, or even if things are okay, they still might have some anxieties and fears around certain aspects, especially like bills. Student loans is one of the biggest ones. I see a lot of people like, I do not want to call my servicer. And so then I'll start talking to them like, okay, well, tell me more. Why don't you want to call? So when they start telling me it's the fear of the unknown. They don't know, like, if I call my student loan servicers, they might tell me something I don't want to hear. And it might, and what you don't want to hear is something you can't afford to pay. And and then also it's the government, it's federal. So a lot of people are scared with that because it is something, since it's a federal student loan, they're scared to call. And the funny thing is, with federal student loans, they have the most options available to you when it comes to repayment than if you got a student loan through Sally. Sally Mae is a bank. They're not just a federal student loan services. So if you just got a loan through them, those are two separate entities. So your federal student loans, they are more equipped to work with you with options. I've seen options as low as $0 sometimes. And so these are the things I see, like, as I've been coaching over the years, is that a lot of times, mental health can affect how you manage your finances. And then sometimes how you manage your finances can affect your mental health. So that's why we felt like this was a very important conversation to have. I do want to start out with a few stats. So one thing, 40% of Americans admit to overspending to impress others. So how many of you have done that? I'm
Yeah.
How many of you have spent money? People, 56% went into debt. So, imagine right now with social media. And just for our younger generations, that this whole idea of press each other, like, I want to look rich online, or I don't want to look broke, or I want to have the latest and the items. Every month there's a new trend going on, and then the influencers that's fuel the fire with wanting hit my Amazon favorites or for the day, or so on to this idea spending money
And most of them are living at
others,
home with their parents.
which
They can't afford their own place. So
do I'm joking. I be investigating, but I do notice that, yeah, a lot of influencers, they are living at home with their parents until they get big. At some point, they get big. Now they're making, some of them can make like millions of dollars, but they started off living at home with their parents. And it took years and a lot of work for them to get to a certain lifestyle. But once they get to that lifestyle, that's all you're seeing on social media. You're seeing the luxury trips, you're seeing the luxury clothing, perfumes, makeup, the luxury cars, or you see them flashing cash. So then now I'm watching this, so I want to keep up. So, but I don't have that income. So what happens? We go into debt. And sometimes influencers are in debt. They have a lot of debt because they have to impress each other and they have to impress their viewers and followers in order to get to a certain price point. And then we have 78% of adults who feel the strain of keeping up with other lifestyle, and that can cause stress. So influencers on YouTube every once in a while, or TikToks, and Instagram. And there's been times where they did videos where they just disappeared. And part of the reason is they say, I was so stressed out with keeping up with what I need to do for social media, or I went through a depression. Like they all talk about how they have these mental health things that come up due to the things that they have to do to impress others, and just keeping up with that lifestyle in order to keep their following and to keep making money. And these can be influencers making a lot of money. And this can go even outside of social media, even within your network of people. Even if you're not online or you're not posting online, but you still see what other people are driving, you still see what they're wearing, you still see the experiences they have just through hanging out and talking. And then sometimes wanting to have those things too can cause stress. And then also nearly 70% of Americans say financial uncertainty has made them feel depressed and anxious. Like I talked about with the student loans, if you're not sure what's going to happen when you call, so it's going to cause you some anxiety. Even like with the economy and everything is going up, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen with the economy. We don't know if food prices are going to go down. We don't know if the price, in Houston, you got to have a car. We don't know if the price of cars are going to go down. Like we don't know what's going to happen. And so that can cause us to feel depressed and anxious at times with our finances. So I want to talk about cultural and generational influences of personal finances. And I kind of touched on that a little bit when I was talking about the stats. With cultural influences, there's beliefs about money, debt, saving that differ across different cultures. So just how we think about just the things we learned about money growing up can be based on our culture. Like you have some culture that might be more about savings. You have some culture that might be more about spending. So it's just depending on what your backgrounds are. And then also there's family expectations that may impact financial decisions. So you could be supporting parents, kids, of course, if you are a parent. Are you a parent? You might be supporting adult kids that are living with you, paying for education. It could be paying for your kids' education and your education, weddings. If you're someone who's planning on getting married, then you have to, you had this expectation. You know, I told my mom, I was like, when I get married, it's going to be a small wedding and it's going to be everything I want because I'm paying for it. So, but there's these family expectations to have this big $30,000 wedding. I was like, honestly, I said, I'm gonna go to another country, me and my fiance, and I'm gonna have one or two witnesses, and that's it. But there's these family expectations that you have to have this big wedding. And also then the wedding had to be for the guests and not for those that are getting married. So you have to make sure you're pleasing everybody. So that can lead to spending more money on a wedding. And then again, like even with supporting parents, you know, as your parents get older and they need additional help, then you might have where your parents are living with you and you have to cover their like expenses and their basic needs. And that could be cultural too. There are some cultures where they have multiple generations living in one house together. And you usually have like maybe the family that's young enough to work, they're supporting the parents, they're supporting their kids too. So they're supporting everybody in that household. And then there's community values that influence spending habits and priorities. So, what are values within your community that might influence you to spend more money? One thing I can think of is like I could get to generational influences next, but one thing I could think about is like I call it the CNBC. Have y'all heard of that? CNBC. It's kind of similar to Keeping Up with the Joneses. So it's like who can spend the most money. So and I've seen this online. It's called Bottle Wars, where I've seen it on social media where they're at like a club, and it's like who can get the most bottles, who can spend the most money. So you have people spending, just competing against each other to outspend each other. Who, me? Oh no. Yeah, so it would just pop up, like I would see it and I'm like, so they just going back and forth, just competing to see who can spend the most money on overpriced drinks.
And then you watch it because it's like the bad accident. Like, are you
This is
really
like,
doing this? You know,
I'm like, I'm sitting there like I'm confused,
First of all, we did go. He wasn't worried about sneaking our own Bible.
like, yes. Exactly. So our guest that's in person, one question was, why are you watching those videos? And we said it's like a train wreck. You cannot help but watch two groups of people make bad decisions. Like, why are you guys? And like, what not to do? And then we had another individual that said back a few years, well, let's say maybe like a decade or so ago,
no,
when you go
no,
out.
no.
So maybe about 20 years ago.
A
When
few,
you
just
go
a few.
out, when you went out, there was no VIP sections. Everybody, you just went to the bar, you bought your drink. There was no buying bottles and competing. Everybody, there was no cell phones.
And you got there
So
early enough to get to table. It wasn't everybody had a
yes.
section. You know, you had to get there.
So yes. So as you can see so again, it's like these community values, they've changed over time because how the spaces in our communities have changed. And so if you notice, and then you can see this even with like neighborhoods and communities you live in that are being gentrified. And so you have these luxury brands and luxury gyms and things coming in, and that can influence more spending. So you have the fancy coffee shops, you have the luxury studio gyms, the yoga, the Pilates. And so you see these things in your community that start changing the values in that community, and it starts changing. It leads to more spending. It leads to changes in priority, your financial priorities. And then let's talk about generational influences, because even now in the room, we have different generations in the room right now. We have a millennial, we have, I don't, and then we have a Gen Z in here. Are you Gen Z? He's 17. And then we have some older generations in here. And so when it comes to generation, we all have different values about how we see personal finances. And so, and then also those values can also be based on what you experienced and seen the older generations doing. So we have older generations, they value job stability. So they tended to stay at their jobs for years and years until they retired. I think my mom only known her being at one job until she retired. And I know she had another job before that, but I've only known her all my life for, I'm going to say 30 something years, maybe 40. I can't remember when she retired, but she was at the same job all my life since I was a kid. 38 years. So it was the value of job stability, savings. So pension plans, good retirement plans that a lot of companies prioritizing savings more than spending because, again, they didn't have, like we have social media that's always telling us to spend. Like if I open at Instagram right now, it's probably going to be somebody talking about buy these are my favorite things on Amazon. Like everything is being telling our generation to spend. And so, and then also avoiding debt. So you do have a lot of older generations, they rather save up cash and buy things cash instead of borrowing money to pay for things. Younger generations tends to be more focused on experiences. So we want to go spend our money like on trips and, like I said, luxury things, technology, because we grew up in a technology age. Go ahead. Yes. And I want to speak on that with the younger generation. I've seen the same thing with my son is 21. So our Gen Z in the room, he said that the values that he's learned is about saving and avoiding debt. Because he's learning those things from the older generation to prioritize saving and to prioritize using less debt. And I'm going to say, go ahead.
I think my is the boomer.
Okay.
Maybe, we didn't have all these up-to-date technologies. We didn't have all
yes.
these array of choices, options.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I feel bad for them.
Oh yeah, we have so many options to borrow money.
Today, you have the TV, you only have so many channels. Now you have cable and
Social media. Oh yes. TikTok. I learned everything on TikTok and YouTube. But I I will say this, I feel like there was a gap in financial education with two generations. That could be my generation as a millennial. And I don't know what the generation is that just before me. What generation is that? Is it Gen X? Okay. Okay, then, yeah, so Generation X and millennials, there was no financial education given to us. So we kind of like, we made a lot of mistakes and we got into a lot of student loan debt because we were
And-
all
and then
told
also, too,
you
it
have to go
was-
to college.
when you're talking to a lot of people now, it's generational
Mhm.
influence
It's
on the
generational,
decision making as it relates to your
influence
finances.
on the
This is how my
decision making
mama
as it
did.
relates to
This
your
is how my
finances.
dad did.
Yes.
So it's just they don't. So
Right.
you don't kind of think about doing
Yes.
things on your own, learn anything else because that's the way
Yes.
you always saw somebody else do it. So even
And then also there was no one speaking, like your parents didn't talk to you about about their finances. Yeah, they didn't, nobody talked about finances. Nobody's talked about if everything was good or if anything was bad. Like no one talked about it. And so like even when I was growing up, like my mom, she was really good with managing. Like she managed so well. I thought we were rich. I was like, oh, we were, until I saw what real rich people were. And I was like, oh, but it was just, she was just good at managing, but she didn't talk about it because that generation just don't talk about finances. So then when I got my first credit card in college, for a t-shirt. So I got a credit card for a t-shirt at the college campus. And I started spending on it. My mom didn't tell me what to do until I messed up with the credit card. Then she was like, oh, well, let me tell you how to fix it. And I was like, well, I wish you would have told me how to prevent the problem. And she was like, well, I told you don't be spending what you can't afford to pay back. Yes. I just thought I had extra income. I thought I had $500.
yeah, a lot of people view
Money,
they-
and I pay.
they're not looking at credit cards as credit. They are looking at it
Yes.
as extra cash. Like you think it's extra money. Yeah, just
So
plastic.
I think because of that gap where there was no financial education, so now we want to educate the younger generation. So like Gen Z, like you said, his age group, he knows like, oh well, I'm big on saving. I'm big on not using credit the right way, not using as much credit. My son, he's 21. He's the same way. He don't want to use a lot of credit. He only using enough credit to build his credit because I broke it down to him. This is how you use credit. And then also he holds on to all his money. He don't like go out there and spending. Right. We call him, we like, you cheap. And again, because the thing is, I feel like Gen Z, they did see the mistakes that their parents made, and they're like, well, we don't want to have those same mistakes. We want to be a lot better with our money. But also, there is a big push for financial education out there. That's what I do. Like in my job position, I go out and I do these presentations. We do the presentation for high schoolers, middle schoolers. There's a lot of youth programs now that are incorporating financial education into their programming. So they're learning not to make those same mistakes. And then technology with social media, there's a lot of videos on social media that talk about how to use credit, how to say, like, there's a lot on YouTube, there's a lot of videos that they can tap into with that technology.
Also makes it hard. Because you also got a lot of people who are in that.
You also have kindergarten.
That, like with no problems, like this,
Mhm.
so.
That's what I always say about people listening to the street committee. I call them the street committee because they go on all these different social media sites and they're listening to all these different people tell you all this stuff. But they're not looking at the individual or the personal situation.
Yes.
Or even a situation in your area is not the same as the situation over here or even in other states. People talk about laws and all this different kind of stuff about trust and wills and all that kinds of stuff. Well, that's how it works in your state. It doesn't work like that here.
Yes.
So when you're out there listening to the street committee or you're doing your own, please do your own research
Yes.
as you're out there so that you'll
Mhm.
know.
And that, came up but everybody can do it.
Right.
Right, so that is.
Every state is not
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
well, somebody, I'm getting that.
So that is, so we have, I guess a person, just say like, we're seeing what other people are doing online. They might be starting businesses. I want to say even like the influencers, where technology is good and bad at the same time. Because sometimes you are seeing like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna try and do this because this person is very successful, but that person is very successful might not be relaying everything they needed to do to get to that point, or they want you to pay for it. They want you to take their master class. Yes. So you have to pay for that information because, and to me, it does make sense because if that person went through hours of learning how to do this, then yeah, they might do want to make something off of like teaching that, but also you got to think about, are they is there value in what they're going to teach you when you're going to pay them for teaching you how like to start a trucking business or how to. Exactly. So you can actually take the time and learn those things yourself. You can pay somebody for their expertise to use discernment to make sure that when you're watching these videos on social media, even talking about like how to clean up your credit, use discernment sometimes with those videos because they might be telling you to do something that's not actually going to help you and you might lose money. So we got to be mindful of how we with younger generations, they're very much on technology a lot. How we spend money is on technology, like everything. So we have to be careful how those things can be pros and cons and how they can cause financial issues. And then also invested early. Younger generations are investing more into like the stock market again. It's probably social media because you're seeing about it online a lot. And then there's economic events. So recessions, we saw the student loan prices just recently, like I said, with a lot of was it Gen X and millennials with a lot of student loan debt. And then we had the housing market shift. I don't know if y'all remember the housing market crisis not too long ago. I was working at Wells Fargo when that happened. And I remember hearing a lot of the stories and then just a shift on how banking kind of changed. And that also brought about a lot of financial education because the government required banks to provide financial education so we don't go through these financial crises anymore. And again, like those things, they shape our money attitudes because when you have like a big financial crisis that's across the United States now everybody is trying to figure out how can we prevent this from happening. So that's where you start seeing the shift in like financial education being out there. You start seeing a shift in how people think about money.
Didn't they just add or change something in the legislation about the kids that they're now required to take some kind of financial education
I
class
think I
before they
have been
graduate?
hearing
Yeah, did they
talks
say
of that.
anything about that? Yeah, I thought I remember something or hearing somebody say something about that.
Yes, I see, some talks about putting this information. They might not know about education with parents. Um, and then
That kids are learning about money.
it kind of trickles down. So I feel like yeah,
No, like I was saying earlier about how some people, how they view money or how they deal with money, it's only because of how my mom did it or how my dad did it or whatever. So, and then the parents did it because of how their moms or how their parents did it. So it's not that they don't want to learn. It's just they just never thought about thinking about money in other ways because that's all they've ever seen. So they don't necessarily know what to teach their children about money or finances at that point. Even though they could find out on their own, they could learn it, but it's like, well, I always wrote a check or I always went and got a money order or something like that. Most people don't, a lot of older folks, they don't know anything about going online to pay bills and, bill pay and setting up automatic drafts and, like, what do you mean I have to, yeah, what do you mean? Exactly. But especially with so many brick and mortar banks actually closing, that's pretty much the only option that there is now that they're having to learn that kinds of stuff. So it's not that banking is a whole lot different.
Who was 35 or 30. When she became a teenager and able to work, I took her to a script center and I said, okay, I want you to get an obligation for each store here and I'll meet you at the end. Okay? That's when she was like 17, because and when she grew up and here she's looking for a job at 29, she goes, Mom, it's all online.
Everything is online.
And when I told him to Taco Bell, I go, get an appointment to have an interview.
No, now you got to scan the QR code to get the application. So there is no application to pick up.
Free, then for certain types of jobs, especially for teenagers, going in person and speaking to the manager and saying, hey, I want to get my first job. And so my Zoom keeps closing out. Just simply say, hey, you guys currently hiring? And then, they'll let you know.
You're on mute. You're muted.
I'm muted.
Yeah.
Yeah, my Zoom keep closing out. But if you go to the job site and you just simply ask, hey, you guys hiring? I'm interested in working here. And if you already submitted an application, I already submitted my application online. Sometimes they might say, okay, well, what's your name? I'm gonna go pull your application, look things over, and give you a call back. You can still do that, but you have to do it, like you have to know how to do it, be smart about it. So you have to make sure you go in when it's a slow period of time. Already have your application submitted online. And it works because now they're seeing you face to face. They can have a brief conversation with you. It shows initiative and effort. Otherwise, you might not ever hear back because there's hundreds of applications. Now,
Most people today, especially young generation, it's not hard.
I know it's hard because I work with teenagers now.
Put it in and then pick up the game controller or whatever.
Yeah, so
TV.
it is hard.
But
yeah, it's hard to get the younger generation because there are a lot of I think they're more like introverted. They don't want to go out. So it is pulling teeth, but I just like, hey, I'm telling you, it worked. I've seen it. I've seen it work. So I'm gonna skip over to this slide right here because we did kind of touch on these different cultural pressures to spend money. I do want to make sure. I do want to make sure that we go over everything because I do want to talk about budget planning and how it can help reduce some stress around money. Like Pierre said, it can't be the only thing that you're doing, especially when you have a high level of stress. But a budget plan is to manage your money. It doesn't mean you have to cut anything out. It doesn't mean you have to go get more income. Is to monitor your income and track your expenses, to know what's going on with your money, simply. You don't have to make any change. A lot of people, they stress, they're like, I don't want to do it, but I don't want to. Yes, you want to know because it's going to help you be able to make financial decisions, whether you need to cut expenses, whether you need to increase income. If you're trying to make some life changes. Not too long ago, earlier this year, moved. I was living with my sister. Money, and so it we was so like we see if this how this is gonna work. So budget plan I made it a goal to do my budget plan every single month. My computer. What happened is and so what happened is I was able to different random amount and thing in there to see like what fits. What is going to fit or what is affordable or to make the decision, do we need to stay together? So this became helpful because I have been doing it every single month. Starting last year is when I made the decision to do that. And I saw like just the changes it does because you know everything. Also, I was tracking debt payments so I could see when things are being paid off, and I could say, okay, well, in 3 months, I'm gonna have this extra amount of money. And so that's why I feel like it's important to be assessing your financial situation monthly, track your income and cash flow, track your expenses, identify your spending habits. So when you're doing this, you're gonna see, oh, I eat out too much, or I'm shopping too much. You might identify like where Pierre says some of those behavioral changes. Like you might identify, okay, well, I'm overspending in all these areas and I'm not spending on my priority. What's going on? Like something is going on, there's a disconnect. Or there might be times where you might be going through like a financial crisis where there's like, you feel like I can't get ahead, I can't afford anything. All of my finances, like every month, I don't know where my money is going. And that's just causing layers of stress and anxiety. So when you start doing this, then you can start seeing, okay, I took my bank history. I know exactly what my income is. I know all of my expenses. If you're using cash, it's gonna be a little bit more work. You got to track every time a dollar leave your hands. You got to keep receipts. But then you're gonna start seeing where, okay, these are my habits, and I want to change these habits. So why do I have these habits? I need to figure this out so I can make changes. So again, if you feel like you're in a situation where changes need to be made, having that budget plan and knowing that information is going to help you make those changes. And so easy to keep track of your money. Everything is digital now. You have online banking, you have mobile banking. If you don't like to use technology for your banking, you have your monthly bank statements that can be still mailed to you. Also, you can call customer service lines to find out current balances, latest transactions, deposits, speak to a banker about your account. Again, if you're tracking cash, envelope system. I love the envelope system where you put cash in envelopes. This is grocery envelope. This is utilities. This is personal care. You label your envelopes and whatever is in that envelope, that's all you have for that category. And then I say go a step further. Write your transactions every time you spend cash out of that envelope. Either replace the cash with the receipt or write it on the envelope. So I had $300 in this envelope. I spent $100 at Walmart for groceries. So I'm going to write that on the envelope. I'm going to put the receipt. So then now you could go back and put this information into your budgeting tool. So you have spreadsheets. Give me 1 second. You have spreadsheets if you're an Excel or a Google Sheets person. You could do spreadsheets. Vertex42.com, they have a lot of budgeting spreadsheets on there for free. If you like to write things out, you can do a budget journal. It could be a notebook, or you could buy a budget journal. And they have them at Walmart. I've seen them at Walmart, like where all the notebooks are. I've seen them at Target. I've seen them on Amazon. Very cheap. It's don't even cost that much to get a little budget journal if you like to write, or you can just get me writing all my. Oh, look at you. He just write all his expenses out. And everything in a notebook. I'm frozen. Okay. You can hear me talking? Do you want to unmute yourself? Budgeting apps. So there are apps you can find in your app store, and these budgeting apps, they make it easier for you. They connect with your banks and they pull your transaction history in and they categorize things for you. Online banking, I know my bank does it. I've seen other banks do this. They have spending reports, and then the spending report where they take your information, they categorize your spending for you, and you could just go and look at your spending report on your bank's website. And so you don't even have to do all the work, because before that, what I used to do is print out my transaction history and go line by line.
Feel like my broker always
It's
says
moving
whenever we
slow.
got some good information to give out, that's when the devil kind of come in and start messing with
I
our
know.
technology here. So just bear with us for just a second.
Yeah,
So
it's
just
my Zoom is moving slow.
okay, I'll turn your camera. I'll stop video. Just see if
Okay, you'll
that
stop it for me? Okay.
it won't let it stop. Keep going. They can hear you though. So go
Okay,
ahead.
okay. So yeah, so I used to print out my transaction history, and then even for my clients, when my clients would come in, we would just go line by line. I'll have their bank history, their statement. I'll be going line by line, plugging everything into the budget sheet. And then again, the envelope system is a great way to track, to budget cash and track cash money. So again, when you're using the budgeting tools, the idea that it's going to relieve some financial stress, because you are in control of your money. When you're not in control of things, it tends to like cause a lot of like anxiety and when you don't know where your money is going. You just know your money is going. You don't know where it went. It's just gone. It's coming for a brief moment, and then it's gone. Poof, is gone. And so what happens when we're using these budgeting tools, it helps us figure out where our money is going. And then now you can control your money, and you can put it up the lock and key if you want to, and throw it into a savings account. Or you can decide, okay, well, this month I want to treat myself and I'm going to eat out a little bit more. This month it's my birthday, so I'm going to do something special. So you can decide and make those financial decisions. So good budgeting practices is, again, use your bank statement or transaction history so you can have accurate information. And then track your cash, write it down as soon as it happens. As soon as that money leaves your hand, write it down. Pick a day of every month, either the first week, last week of the month. I would say the first week of the month, because you want to wait till everything have gone through for the month. And then that's when you sit down and review all of your spending and income for the month, plug it into whatever budget tool that you're using. Then you take that information and create a plan for the next month. Today, my twin, she was texting me. She like, "Oh, I haven't done my budget plan in 3 months," and she was like, "I'm not gonna worry about going back and doing those 3 months." I'm like, "You should," and then she's like, "You know what? I am." Now I know Pierre said don't say should, but honestly, actually, I was gonna text her back that I think it would be good, and then she texted like it creates that consistency and making sure that she's staying on top of this task that she gave herself to do every month. Yes. And it does, it creates that accountability. And then you could do weekly check-ins with yourself. So if a monthly bill came out, go ahead and just add it to whatever budgeting tool that you're doing. And then check in on your groceries or eating out. If you like to shop, check in on that and see if you are under budget still or are you about to go over budget, because you want to make those adjustments throughout the month so you can stick to your plans. Mhm. Uh-huh.
Having a bank. And I go to Chase. And I have a credit union, and I
Mhm.
think I like the credit union better
Mhm.
than the Chase, even though Chase has more ATMs. My daughter had an online bank. And that really bothered me, and I know it bothered me because I'm not educated on how online bank works. The pros and the cons.
So the question is, how do online banking work? So the pros to online banking is, of course, is the accessibility. So you don't have to leave your home to go and open an account. Also, everything is online, but they also, because they don't have brick and mortar, they have higher interest rates on their savings accounts. So it's how they might have, you earn interest on your checking account depending on the bank. So that's some pros to it. Also, some cons is you can't deposit cash. So you have to have, if you're someone who gets cash, you have to have a traditional bank to deposit cash and then transfer it to your online bank. Otherwise, to get like your income, you just set up a direct deposit and then your income is gonna go into your online bank. Yeah, so you do have to check that. So
Do your research.
just make sure you do your research. I would only stick to reputable brands. Like I know Ally Bank is an online bank. They do most things
I'm not
online.
gonna endorse anybody on this platform.
I'm not endorsing, but for an example, I want to use them as an example because they are an online bank, but they are a reputable online bank. Okay.
One thing, another advantage of online banking versus the traditional brick and mortar. Some people use it as like a savings plan. So that way, if they don't have an ATM or it's not readily accessible for them to take money out, they know that if they put that money there, it's over there and they can't get to it. Or sometimes, like if you know you've got local bank branches where there's only one or maybe two. So like me, I live on the other side of town. So I know the one bank that I got my bank account is way over there. I'm not driving all the way over here to come and get money out, and I tore up my ATM card. So I can't readily, that makes sure when I put money in that account, I'm not just, it's not that handy it's not that accessible to me for me to get that cash out just whenever or to spend out of it whenever I feel like it. So I do. Oh, yeah, I get my statement. Oh, yeah, you still get my statement. I can still see everything online, everything. I can still see it from the app. I can still utilize it, but it's not that accessible to me. So it's, but it works though, because I don't touch the account. You now because you're
Again, like there's some online savings account, and NerdWallet and Bankrate is a good website to go to if you want to look for online savings. I call them high yield, they're high yield savings accounts. Bankrate and NerdWallet they're going to give you reputable options that are backed by FDIC. So just make sure that you're getting that information from the right places. I know our time is coming to an end, and I didn't really get to talk about savings and planning for the future, but I will say this. If you have an emergency fund, and that budget plan is going to help you be able to create that savings, that emergency fund, because you're going to start putting your savings as a line item in your budget. So as an expense, it should say emergency fund, transfer that money right away, or do direct deposit for work, because knowing that you have that pot of money somewhere saved is going to reduce your financial stress in a time of an emergency. So, knowing that you have that emergency savings and you're maintaining it, because if you use it, you have to put it back. Like just like Capital One credit card, you use that credit card, you got to pay Capital One back. When you use your emergency savings, you have to pay yourself back. And then you want to make sure that if you want to pay yourself interest too, so you can build that savings back up a lot faster. But having that savings account and planning, even planning for retirement, even if you're going to go on a vacation, planning ahead for any type of financial situation in the future is going to reduce that stress and anxiety when that time comes. I do want to talk about what Financial Stability Program does. Is we do free one-on-one financial stability coaching. We help with financial coaching with this. We're going to go over your personal financial goals. We could help you with managing your money, doing those budget plans once a month. We can help you with any like debt things you want to go over. Like if you try to build credit, pay down debts, or pay off debts, we could talk about different options that you can take. Also, there's the accountability. So if you're engaging with us monthly and you're meeting with us, then we're holding you accountable. And we don't tell you what to do. We give suggestions where you come up with your own plans and strategy. But I'm checking in to make sure that those things are getting done. And then we help with career coaching as well, because we understand that in some cases you might lose a job and you try to get a better job or earn more income. Then we can help in that area. And then we also have our Youth on the Move program for 14 to 24. So this is where we're doing preventative measures. We want them to learn about finances, to learn about how to navigate their career paths, so they can be successful and they can have financial stability when they become adults. This is also a free program that we offer. We do one-on-one coaching with the teens and young adults as well. And we also have an entrepreneurship program within the Youth on the Move. So we could talk to them about starting their own businesses. And we have a micro grant that they can apply for if they have a business that they're working on. And then we offer, we have some other incentives if they're engaged in the program. And we do go out into the community and we speak at other partner agencies to the youth and young adults. This is the QR code if you have any teens or young adults that want to sign up. And if you're interested in financial stability coaching, then you can, the same number for mental health services, you can call the same number to schedule with a financial stability coach. We have coaches all over Houston. We have 3 here at our central office. We have 1 in the Bay Area, Clear Lake. We have 1 in Fort Bend, and we have 1 in Katy, Brookshire area. And that is, we have a question. You forgot. I am so sorry. An abbreviation, does it have to do with banking? Was it the FDIC? The FDIC is basically the government insures the bank. So if the bank goes under and they go out of business, your money is protected up to a certain dollar amount. So I think it's like 250,000. Because again, there was a financial crisis called Enron back in the 90s, right? Was it 90s or early 2000s? Yes. So a lot of people lost a lot of money because the banking system crashed. Also, I think it happened, was that with not the Great Depression? I'm bad with my history, but I know that there's so many financial crises that happen where the banks crash and then they had to create the FDIC in order to insure people's money if the
Just about
bank
with every financial
crashed.
crisis, there's some kind of organization, some kind of system or something that comes from it. So when they had the housing crisis back in 2000s, that's when they created the CFPB, which is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So that bureau kind of oversees a lot of
Yes.
those financial institutions to make sure that they're not, that they're not predatory, that people are not being taken advantage of, that they have a system or some things in place where they can go to report it, things of that nature. So financial education.
And they
and
provide
all that
financial
kind of stuff.
education
So,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, so there are a lot of different like protection agencies to make sure our money is protected.
There was a question
Um,
here. When the financial stability coaching that you do, is it for individuals or
Okay.
do you coach for businesses as well?
I'm gonna say it's just for individuals. When they mean businesses, do they mean that their staff is
No,
looking
the
for
business
one-on-one
themselves. So if I'm a small
coaching?
business owner and I want to make sure that I'm kind of staying on track and
Oh,
on
okay,
target and
okay.
what I need to do, that kind of thing.
Yes, yeah, so we can coach around the business development because the thing is the accountability. So we're gonna make sure that you're doing the things that you say that you need to do for your business. If there's certain things that are out of our expertise, then we have small business resources that we provide. And we can tell you places that were like Score Houston, you can connect with mentors that might do the same business that you're doing, and they might be an expert. So we're gonna direct you to those experts in
That's
small
another acronym
business.
for you. SCORE. SCORE is Service Corps of Retired Executives. So these are retired business people that help counsel small businesses for free. So you'll find them kind of in different little areas all over town. But if you want to set up an appointment with one of the counselors, then you can do that, and they can help you, whether it's like incorporating your business or trying to figure out what kind of business formation that you need. If it's a particular industry or whatever, that they'll put you with a business coach that'll help you learn whatever it is that you want to learn. So, Texas is all over. I mean, SCORE is all over. They have it in other states.
Yeah, and then the
Yeah.
SBA, the Small Business Association, they're all over too. And then, I mean, in most cities, you can find some small business development organizations. And in Houston, we have Houston Area Urban League.
And
Also, the city of Houston, they have the Business Opportunity Center.
Houston, HBDI, Houston Business
Uh-huh.
Development, Houston, Houston Business Development, Incorporated or Industry. I can't remember what the I is.
University of Houston, they have a program too for small business development. It's like you go through like a Shark Tank type of
Class.
experience.
Mhm.
And they start from the beginning to the end, and then you have to do a Shark Tank presentation. I like to call it whole, but Houston Area Urban League, they do the same thing. They send you through courses, and then at the end, you do like a presentation of your business, like you're on Shark Tank. And then both of them, I think you can try to win like funding for your business. So there's a lot of opportunities. So that's another thing we do as a financial stability coaches. We can get you in touch with tools and resources that you're needing.
All right. I don't see any
I
other
wanna
questions in the chat that we
apologize.
had here, but since you said we did not get to savings, luckily, next month, October 1st, the first Wednesday of each month, we are having our savings establishing a rainy day fund session. So we will be in person at our community apartment complex at Nubius Square at 3711 Southmore, but we will also be online in Zoom talking about savings and establishing a rainy day fund with Miss Monet. So so a lot of that stuff that we didn't go over with savings, we will be talking about it in the next session as well. It was just too much information to kind of cover a lot of that stuff here. So one other thing too that I wanted to add is to let you guys know that as we were talking about being conscious and aware of your money, those little plastic bags that you all got were for a purpose. So the flip side of that bag, you will see instructions. This is your 30-day bag. We created the 30-day bag challenge as a way of you trying to be a little bit more conscious about your money. So you put all your receipts for everything that you spend in that bag for 30 days. At the end of the 30 days, you take don't look at like, all the little chips and the nails, everything, all that stuff, put it in that bag for 30 days. At the end of the 30 days, take it out, take all those receipts out and then add it up and you can see where your money is going. And from there, once you actually see where your money is going, you can then determine how is it that I need to cut back, not cut off, but cut back. If I'm eating out 5 days a week, maybe I can eat out 3 days a week and take a couple of sandwiches or something, or some leftovers for lunch, or, maybe don't go to the local barista. Go to the grocery store and get you some Keurig cups and make your own coffee or whatever a couple of days a week, that kinds of stuff. So again, it's just so that you can kind of be more conscious and aware. And if those folks that are joining us on Zoom or watching on social media, if you guys are interested in receiving one of those bags, then please feel free to reach out to me and I can make sure that one of those gets sent out to you as well. But with that being said, it is after 7 o'clock and I don't want to keep y'all here any longer than what you need to. We want to thank y'all very much for joining us this evening. We do hope that you all got the information that was intended, that you came here to receive. This session is being recorded. It will be emailed out to everybody. The resources and the references that were mentioned throughout the presentation will be emailed out to everybody. The copy of the pamphlets and things like that will be emailed out to you as well, so that you'll have all that information to reference back to once you're, and hopefully you guys can share it, pay it forward, give it along to somebody else that also can find, that may find the information to be beneficial as well. So again, we want to thank y'all for coming. Appreciate y'all being here this evening. Thank y'all very much. You folks online, thank you for joining us, and we hope that you continue to come back and support our initiatives and us trying to get this information out to the community. We really appreciate you guys. There's a brief survey that pops up on the Zoom link. If you guys could just take a couple of minutes to kind of tell us what you thought about the presentation and the information that was provided, and let us know if there are certain programs or other information that you guys want that we don't currently offer, then please let us know. So as we're planning for the future, we'll know what it is that we can also start providing for the community. So with that being said, thank y'all very much. Y'all have a wonderful